They said the shot was impossible. A German panzer, nearly 2.5 miles away, moving, armored, deadly. Yet one man, on a frozen battlefield in the winter of 1944, would take that shot and change the course of a desperate fight on the Western Front. It was December 18th, 1944. The Ardennes forest, the opening days of the Battle of the Bulge, Hitler's last massive gamble to split the Allied front in two. Snow hammered the Belgian countryside. Ice clung to the pine branches. Visibility shifted by the minute, for the U.S. Army's 2nd Infantry Division, spread thin across the Elsenborn Ridge. Survival itself was becoming a question. The men had been awake for nearly 30 hours. Ammunition was already running short. German artillery, from 105mm howitzers to the dreaded Nebelwerfer rocket launchers, screamed relentlessly across their lines. And now, heavy armor was pushing forward. A Tiger tank, the most feared armored weapon of the war. Its 88mm cannon could tear through American Shermans from over a mile away. Its armor was nearly impenetrable from the front, yet one American marksman, armed not with an anti-tank gun, but with a .50 caliber M2 Browning heavy machine gun, would attempt something no manual, no instructor, no doctrine had ever suggested was remotely possible. A single shot, a single chance, an impossible distance. What happened next would become legendary. To understand how such a moment unfolded, we must step back to the ridge, the units defending it, and the man behind the gun. The Elsenborn Ridge was no ordinary position. It was one of the few pieces of high ground in the northern sector of the Ardennes forest. Whoever controlled it could dominate the surrounding road network. Vital routes leading toward Liège and Antwerp, the Allies' crucial supply hubs. The Germans knew it, the Americans knew it, and both understood that losing this ridge could unravel the entire northern flank of the Allied line. On that ridge, in a shallow dugout scraped into frozen earth, stood the position of Private First Class Henry Hank Ellison, a heavy weapons gunner attached to Company H, 23rd Infantry Regiment, 2nd Infantry Division. Ellison wasn't a sniper. He wasn't an officer. He wasn't famous. He was simply a man who had spent more hours than he could count behind an M2 heavy machine gun. Hank was from Woodland, Pennsylvania, a quiet lumber town. Before the war, he worked as a mill hand. He hunted deer every fall with his grandfather's bolt-action rifle. But a tank at over 4,500 yards? No one trains for that. Still, among his platoon, Ellison had a reputation. When Hank touches the 50, anything downrange has a bad day. It was said jokingly, until the morning of December 18th. The defensive line around Elsenborn was under the command of Colonel Daniel de Sobry, a man whose leadership would become pivotal in the first chaotic days of the Bulge. The 2nd Division had been rushed into place after the initial German breakthrough, positioned to block the elite units of the 6th Panzer Army. This included SS Obergruppenführer Sepp Dietrich's armored spearheads, among them the feared 1st SS Panzer Division, Leibstandart Adolf Hitler. These were no ordinary troops. They were veterans, battle-hardened, aggressive, equipped with Panthers, Tigers, and assault guns. The men defending the ridge understood exactly who was coming. The American positions were a patchwork of foxholes, barbed wire, and hastily emplaced machine guns. The ground was frozen solid. Digging deeper than a foot was nearly impossible. Snowdrifts obscured fields of fire, and the bitter December winds cut through every layer of uniform. Hank Ellison's M2 was mounted low behind a fallen pine, its tripod legs half buried in ice. To his right sat his loader, Private Morris Moe Carver, hands trembling not from fear, but from cold. The temperature had dropped to -10 degrees Celsius, -14 degrees Fahrenheit overnight. Across the valley, unseen through the morning haze, German armor was preparing to advance. The enemy's plan was simple: break through the ridge, isolate American units, drive toward Liège. But for the men of the 23rd Infantry, simplicity was a luxury the battlefield did not offer. Ammunition resupply was delayed, communications were spotty, and the German attacks, increasing in intensity, began to feel endless. Little did Hank know,